Just carry on, don't worry me.
People think he must be absolutely out of his mind, but single-family neighborhoods are at risk if we shrink wrap them and freeze them, because people talk about, well, the rate we're going, my kids can't, and then you can fill in the blank. They can't live here, they can't breathe the air, they can't afford stale bread. The reality is that we have neighborhoods which are not really functional. And the reason they're not functional is that they have a demographic which requires people to move when they reach a certain age, and the neighborhoods don't renew themselves. So the paradox is, by keeping neighborhoods the same, they're slowly going to die, and the central neighborhoods will become terribly overpriced.
Michael, first of all, thank you very much for this great introduction about your views of Vancouver.
Right.
And now, what do you think of that opinion my German colleagues had when they were here during the Olympics? They said, Mass, you know what we have really noticed is that the Canadians want to be nice to everyone. What do you think about that? Does it work, actually?
I think it does. I mean, it's really interesting. You see at midnight, red light, it says don't cross, people don't cross the street. And it's not that we're slaves, it's just that people say you don't cross a light. It's a sensible rule. So why not be respectful? So I think Canadians are very respectful of differences, and they're respectful of sensible rules. Where there are rules that are stupid, like marijuana, they're not respectful of those rules. People smoke marijuana, grow marijuana.
Well, you see where I'm getting to, because we talked about the houses which need that view to the mountains, and in a certain sense I have the feeling that the City Council tries to not to step on someone's foot of certain groups. Is that what do you think about that?
Well,
that's why the decision making is so difficult.
Well, the groups they're not stepping on are the entrenched white middle and upper class groups. It's not immigrants. Mm-hmm. So the neighborhoods that are being protected are the neighborhoods that have been single family since the city was founded. They tend to be inhabited by middle and now upper income people. Some ethnic groups have moved in, but it's not a desire to protect. To me, it's more an issue of not exercising leadership, because the council is elected for the whole city. And when we have an election, I vote for 10 city councilors. And the 10 with the highest votes from the whole city win. So their responsibility is the city. It's not the neighborhood. And to me, it's just a lack of vision and conviction to say, no, this is where we see the city going, and we need to ensure that the city is successful.
So see it more in a macro way than a micro way.
Exactly, and not let, I don't know if you have this expression in German, but here is a very popular expression called NIMBY, which is not in my backyard. Yeah. So everybody says, we're not against density, we just want it in the other neighborhood, not our neighborhood. Yes. And of course, when every neighborhood says that, if council respects that, we never get density. You know, what makes a city livable? I mean, I'm sure everybody would look at a place like Frankfurt with the walking street and say, this is wonderful, this is what we like. And in downtown Frankfurt, they closed the main street to turn into pedestrian.
Could be Granville Street.
Exactly. So when we look at the images of what we like in a city, they're invariably these European images which are dense, exciting, lots of people. So we have to go and show that the things that people want in a city, you can only get through density. And that rather than fearing density, we can use it as a tool. And I'm not saying densify the whole city. I'm saying be very selective, be very clever about it. And we can create really nice neighborhoods with more opportunities in terms of housing, in terms of shopping, in terms of legal and other services.
What do you think of the social mix? So having low-income housing at the bottom and $1 million apartments at the top?
It works very well, actually. Where I live in Cold Harbor, directly across the street from me is a publicly owned building, and it's got 25% assisted rental, subsidized housing, and 75% full market rental. and all the other buildings around are reasonably expensive condominiums. It's done nothing to diminish the neighborhood.
We talked about this NIMBY effect. That happened on Hornby Street when they were, for a certain period of time, they were opening up hard-to-core housing in a very rich neighborhood.
Right.
Do you think that was a right move of the city council, or?
The only reason I don't think it makes sense is, in that case, is that the land is so expensive. So if I'm making a public investment in affordable housing, and it's not because I want to segregate the poor, but I would like to buy the cheapest land to make the most housing so that more people can enjoy good housing. And I wouldn't put it in the most expensive place. It doesn't mean I'd put it in a low-income ghetto, but I would try to balance land costs that were low with availability of schools and other services. So I'm not opposed to it. I think we've demonstrated in Vancouver that you can mix income groups very well. It's not an issue. It's just a question of how do we get the most value for our public housing dollar. And to me, that means being clever in terms of when you buy, hopefully on a down cycle, and where you buy, hopefully in a place that's not too expensive.
Do you think Vancouver is a world-class city?
It is.
Or is it just a global city?
It isn't. It isn't. It's world-class in many ways. It's also become very smug and very self-assured. We've done some wonderful things, like putting lots of people living right downtown. That's going to be terrific for all time because the downtown is going to be exciting. What we've got to do is allow that excitement to come out. We have to deregulate our liquor laws and the licensing of restaurants, and we just have to make the city more interesting. We have to put in pedestrian streets the way you have all over Europe. I'm sure Europeans will be stunned that this city, which is so proud of itself, does not have a single pedestrian street. I'm still stunned at the liquor laws here. I mean, they're much better than they used to be. We used to have 28 different licenses for a restaurant. We're now down to 2. So that's a step in the right direction. I think there were lots of ideas that we could learn from the rest of the world and say that those are interesting, let's try them. If they don't work, then we don't do them again.
Professor, thank you very much for your time.
Danke.
All right. Bitte.